I'm now honored to introduce our rising stars here at WPP. And I think it's always a funny term, rising stars. I think they actually probably have always been stars. It just took the rest of us a minute to recognize that. So no offense about the rising. I'm here to introduce some stars. They're here for the Ignite Talks, and you know that because you signed up for the Ignite Talks. And they're one of my favorite sessions because this is where we invite individuals to come talk about topics that they are personally passionate about. I'm thrilled to introduce four of our colleagues from around the WPP universe. We have Olivia Prendergast. Did I get that right? Okay, Olivia. And Olivia is an influencer and social strategist at Ogilvy. She will be joined, or I should say she will be followed by Lara O'Shea. Did I get it right? Lara? Okay, good. Executive Director of Strategy and Insights at VML Y&R. Then we'll hear from Marcelo. And Marcelo told me that I could just say Marcelo because Marcelo's last name is next to impossible to pronounce, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Marcelo Dzialoszynski? Close enough. Marcelo D, a senior copywriter at Mediacom New York, and then Darrien Case, copywriter at VML Y&R. So these sessions are meant to be fun. They're exciting. They're quick. I think between 5 to 6 minutes each. And without further ado, please.
Here, there we go. All right, let me get my little clicker going. We were told strict 5 minutes. Oops, and I'm already going forward. So thank you for the introduction. My name's Olivia Prendergast. I'm an influencer / social strategist out of Ogilvy, and I was born in 1997. And you might be asking, why am I telling you that? And if you're bad at math, that means I'm 24. And that kind of puts me in this funky in-betweener zone between millennials and Gen Z. But a lot of times clients come to me and they ask me for Gen Z expert insight. And I don't really know what an e-boy is. I don't know why they're cool. I don't know why people like them. But, you know, it's my job to kind of connect to my younger roots. And, you know, as a 1997, Gen Z started in 1998, millennials in 1996, and then I'm just that awkward middle child and who like doesn't want to hang out with a dorky older sibling, but is also like not cool enough to be with the angsty younger sibling either. So to get like connected to my younger roots and really understand Gen Z, I, like many people, turned to TikTok during the pandemic and quickly realized that they have their whole own language too, and it's really hard to decipher. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with these words, but some of them are new and confusing. And I'm here to kind of give you that crash course, walk you through it, provide some context, tell you what's cool, what's not cool, and hopefully you guys will walk away a little bit more literate in the Gen Z world. All right, so first we're going to start with cheugy. And a little fun fact, I actually know the girls who came up with this word back in 2018, but it didn't get a lot of credit until recently. It's been written up in the New York Times, and it's when something's not cool anymore, but people are really trying to make it cool. So Christian Girl Fall, sock buns, chokers, Uggs, not the mini Uggs, but like the calf Uggs, anything graphic on your mug, live, laugh, love, cheugy. And, you know, Gen Z is calling millennials cheugy, and that's all right. It's okay. But another thing about this word, too, is that cheugy is now considered cheugy. So this is more historical context for you all. So if you're called cheugy, it's a little bit of an insult, or you can embrace it, but we're not saying it anymore. The next one is Yassification. And this is really just enhancing something, but also by making it gay. And so we always want to give credit to where it's due. And this word evolved from Yass, which is a word coined in the 80s in drag culture by BIPOC queer folks. And then in 2020, it kind of evolved into this Twitter meme page where you have celebrities being like hyper adjusted and edited and facetuned and yassified. It can be used as a verb. And then Gen Z really like reclaimed that and kind of took things that are like inherently straight or stereotypically straight, I should say, like pit viper sunglasses and your dad's like beer bucket apron and Buffalo Wild Wings, I think is really funny, and coin that as like yassifying things. And it's almost like reclaiming and building this community while also poking fun at people who like really hold on to those stereotypes. So it's a really great term that I love, and anything can really be yassified. And then we have slay. Slay is like, I'm sure you guys all know, you're killing it, you're confident, you're slaying it. You can have a minute slay, 3/4 of a slay. You can slay the house down. You could have a big slay. You can slay the day away. Paris Hilton has evolved it into slive, which is slay and living. So kind of a combination of just like living your best life and living through a presentation. And so then we also have just like this crash course. So I'm going to fly through these. I'll give some context, but no cap means for real, no lie. Bet means I'm down, like, yep, bet, I'm into it. If I stand something, I'm a fan of it. Snack is someone who you find cute. So, if anyone thinks I'm a snack. Spilling the tea, the gossip, you're dropping with your friends. Living rent free. Flop era. Some could argue the US might be in their flop era, but with every flop era comes a day to slay. So, you can have one moment and then you can always get back up on your feet and figure it out. Simp is when you're crushing on somebody. Sus is when you're suspicious. Cringe is my favorite. I'd probably say it a cringy amount of times, but it's like embarrassing. Ship is when you like stay in a relationship, you support something. Dead ass, dead serious. Bussin' means amazing. Fire also means amazing. It's not up here, but those came from like the food TikTok culture. And then you have yeet, which is hell yeah. But if you yeet something, then you're throwing it or tossing it or kicking it. If you're pressed, you're upset. If you're Gucci, or if you ask like what's Gucci, you're getting asked like what's good. And if someone said sheesh, they're saying like geez. So hopefully that you guys get like a little, maybe a screenshot or something like that, but you're walking away feeling a little more literate and hip to what Gen Z is saying. But thank you.
Great, thanks, Olivia. Well, I feel a lot better informed and pretty old, but that was great. So given that we're all here celebrating each other and ourselves, and giving each other the space to think and space to take time together, I wanted to talk about something that's really kind of dear to my heart, and this is the idea of making space to think. And as a strategist, my name's Lara O'Shea. I'm Executive Director of Strategy and Insights at VML Thank you. And so as a strategist, like having that space and time to think, I believe is really crucial to the work we do. But it's not just as a strategist, as people, as a daughter, as a parent, as a colleague, as a friend, as a sister, as a professional, it's just really important and crucial that we all give ourselves this space to think. But it's not always easy. When we think about our jobs in marketing and our jobs thinking about the business world and the world itself, it can sometimes feel like everything is just moving at a million miles. There's always the latest thing. There's always how do we optimize? There's new testing, A/B testing, like how do we change our messaging? There's always these 2-day turnarounds. And it always just feels like there's this pressure to do things really, really fast. And I'm not saying that doing things fast is bad. I think it's really, really important that we do things fast. We have pace. There's always that place for sprinting, for having a move to action. But it's always also really important that we take this time to think, because sometimes just by taking a little bit longer, we're able to kind of come up with that stronger framework, a little bit more time, just to kind of get our heads together, give ourselves that space we need to kind of move to action with something that's just a little bit more focused. So I like this quote by Simon Sinek: "It's better to go slowly in the right direction than go speeding off in the wrong direction. I'm not sure my 4-year-old would agree with this one, but I do think sometimes just by giving us that headspace, we're able to take that time and then move more purposefully into the future. And, if you don't believe in me or Simon Sinek, I just wanted to kind of emphasize this isn't a new idea. Einstein himself talked about, if I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on the solution, I would spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. For once I know the proper question, I could solve the problem in less than 5 minutes. But it's not always comfortable to do this. It doesn't always feel good to just sit with ourselves and our thoughts and to give ourselves this time to think things through, because so often we feel that need to kind of get up, to post-it notes, to power dot, and just to move to action really fast. So it's not comfortable. It's not always in our nature. But it reminds me of an idea by a psychologist and writer, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who writes about the idea of finding flow. And flow is this ecstasy you feel when you're in that moment where you're totally immersed in an activity or a debate or a discussion or writing poetry, and you're able to just totally immerse yourself in something because you've given yourself that space to get in that flow and think. But to do this, it's about taking that time to get out. It's having that time alone, but also time to get out, to experience life. And when I was putting together this presentation, it reminded me of a quote that my good friend at VML1, Craig Elimelia, said around perspective isn't something you can turn on and off. It's always on. And we grow our perspective by having experiences, by getting ourselves out there, by observing, by watching the world, by learning, by listening, and by taking that time we so often need to give ourselves to think things through. So I just wanted to end there, just to wrap up by saying that, though there's this kind of call to action, there's this need for speed, and we need this, and we do need the determination to move with pace. It's about doing things fast, it's about moving to action, but it's also about doing the right thing. And in doing the right thing, I just wanted to kind of have a bit of a call to action to give ourselves this space to think. So thank you.
Oh, cool. Okay, so today I'm taking you through my journey from what's wrong with you to best decision ever, which basically means the 5 things I've learned while I was switching career. So here you can see a picture from my first year in my career, and this one is this year. So I started my career as a marketing manager, working on the business side, but after 5 years, I decided to go to what I thought was the fun side of the force and decided to become a creative. And when I told that to my mom, her first reaction was just saying, "What's wrong with you? You're throwing away your career." But after a while, seeing that I was doing okay, was driving a lot happier home to work, she now says just best decision ever. And I feel the same way. I truly believe it was like one of the best decisions I've done. I'm so much happier. I feel a lot more fulfillment on what I do today versus what I used to do. So that's why I encourage everyone that feels like you're not where you want to be, you feel you could be doing something different, to at least try and see if there's the other things that you identify more and maybe you're happier. But of course, it's not easy, right? So that's why I want to share with you guys what I've learned in the process using some cheesy catchphrases. So first, it's always better to regret than to wonder. So let's say I did my career change, but it was a complete failure. Maybe I was not good enough. Maybe I don't like advertising. Maybe it could be completely different than what I expected. Of course, there will be some pain, but that pain is temporary because eventually you heal, you just get over it, and you get back to what you're doing. But for me, the pain that is not temporary, that stays with you forever, in my opinion, is when you feel you don't even try it, when you're just wondering what could have happened. That's something that for me, when I did that, it's stuff that haunts me forever until, okay, let me just try that. So that's why I recommend it's better to always try, and if it fails, just you regret that than just wondering and being frustrated about that. Second, perfect time equals the day that never come. So I feel there's like this mythical, legendary place called the right time, the right place. And the truth is, for me, that place doesn't exist. Most of the times it's just an excuse that people get like to procrastinate or not start doing change. Because let's think about it. Maybe you don't make a lot of money, so now is not the right time. Then you're making a lot of money, like, oh, I should stay here because I want to make a little more money. I'm uncomfortable. Sometimes you're too young, then you're too old. So I truly believe, I'm not saying just like throw everything away and just start your career change out of sudden. Of course, you need to plan, but you need to do the first step. You need to have the courage to start, even if it doesn't feel the right time, because the right time never comes, at least in my opinion. And then you're never what happens to you, but what do you choose to become? So when I decided to change my career, it took me a year to land my first full-time job, and then I was fired in 3 months. And then I landed another job, and I was fired again in 3 months. And at that time, I was like, oh my God, I suck at this job. I'm never gonna really find my place there. But of course, frustrated for a bit. But then I started to learn out of these failures, trying to understand what was wrong. And I truly believe that made me a better creative and helped me to be at the place that I am now. That is what I was envisioning when I decided 5 years ago to change my career. Then nothing's lost, everything's transformed. Of course, this comes from chemistry. But basically, when I told my parents, okay, I'm changing my career, their biggest fear was like, okay, so you're throwing away everything you built when your academic and professional life, everything you learned in business school, you're not going to use that. Everything that you did as a marketeer, probably not using. And it was quite the opposite, actually. For me, I believe knowing about business, knowing about finance, knowing about marketing actually helps me being a unique creative and actually bringing a different point of view that most creatives don't have. So, for example, I know how a client analyzes stuff. When I'm creating for a bank, I know what each of the finance terms means. So it just brings something for you. So you're not throwing away anything. You're just using it in a different way. And lastly, networking is nothing. True connections are everything. And I know it can be kind of similar if you think like networking, connections. But the truth is, when I told my colleagues at P&G, where I used to work as a marketeer, oh, I'm going to the agency side, they were just telling me, oh, so you're probably going to get a job quick, basically because you work 5 years at a client, have a lot of connections with the agencies. And that's really not what happened. Basically, because most of those connections were built under a business reason, right? So it was like, oh, so you're a client, I'm an agency. So that's why we would exchange emails outside of work, because there was a business reason. All of a sudden, I was not a client. There was no reason for them to care about me. So the people who truly helped me was, of course, these people that I knew during work, but those people that I legitimately have a deeper connection. So people that I would go out for a beer for no specific reason, no business reason. I would call them just to see if they were okay, not because I wanted to close a new deal. So that's what I truly believe. Rather than just giving your business card to everyone on a business conference, or like just adding everyone on LinkedIn, I think you could definitely find people that you truly resonate with, people that you connect and you're truly interested. First, because these are the people that will be with you anytime. And second, because these are the people that you want to be with. And with that, I finished my 5 lessons. Hope you guys enjoyed. Here's my content. Feel free to reach out and enjoy the rest of the event. Thanks, guys.
All right, what's up? Can y'all hear me? Hello, testing. Can you snap for me real quick? Can you clap your hands? Can you stomp your feet? Can you shout out hallelujah? Now turn to your neighbor and tell him, hey, cousin. Tell him, hey, cousin. Turn to your neighbor and tell him, hey, cousin. Yeah, no, it's like church. You ever been to church? You ever been to black church? All right, no, okay, all right, I get it. I only do that because when you do a poem on stage, it's usually a conversation between the poet and the audience. So I want you to feel comfortable to react in any way you see fit. My name is Darren Case. I'm a copywriter at VMO but I started as a poet, musician, songwriter. And what's cool about this job, thank you. What's cool about this job is you can bring all facets of creativity to the table. So the poem I'm going to do is about, multifaceted creative, but the most important word of this piece is representation. Representation, means a lot to me because I was at Cannes for the first time this year. I've been in this industry 4 years, and I got to meet a lot of people who looked like me or were part of marginalized communities, and they said it was their first time, 2022. And so as cool as that was to hear, it didn't feel great that, we're just getting to the point where we're seeing more people that look like us in the client work, in the market that we are presenting to, because there are a lot of people that deserve this space and these perspectives to share. And so this poem is a piece to my younger self that I wish knew these lessons I had now from 15 years ago. And so I'll get started. I know your band teacher made you cry last week after you said your lips were too big to play the flute. The same way I know the tears weren't actually for him, but from the armada of piercing laughs that shattered you after. See, the good news is, as bad as you are at long division, piecing together the aftermath is not as hard as it looks. You'll go home wounded and winded, but if you didn't, how else would you be able to learn 2 woodwinds and 3 other instruments? Beautiful black child, you are limitless. When you go home, give yourself some space to geek up and show out. Let the anime posters hug the walls of your room for all the days that people didn't hug you back. You'll grow. You'll grow to find your own Nindo way. Hokage from the village, hidden in loose leaf pages, and just like Goku, the power level you have to tell a story is over 9,000 words. In every saga, you swallow a senzu bean, reviving the warrior your classmates picked apart. See, the pick of the litter is bound to have a few scars. So brandish them like the battles you've already won. They know not yet. What makes you different is a damn superpower. I see you. I see you, eyes wide and bright like the embers of a firecracker. Kid, don't let yourself burn out. You were built to blaze trail after trail, and you better yell and take up as much space as you can, because one day you're going to be in Cannes. Like the galaxy-covered canvas you've always been, surrounded by stars from all walks of life who refused to change the way they walk in life. And they too were black, and they too were without void, shining excellent in their excess, and no authorities were called because no authority could hold us. And no one asked to touch your hair, but they did ask how far the journey it was for your curls to get there. And your black boy joy will crack open just this once, wide enough to make a wish and say how proud of them you are. Because if the spokesperson never spoke up, would you even be here to make a sound? Creating enough space for people's minds to change, including your own? See, I've seen the way the mirror looks at you, child. The imposter in your reflection is a stowaway, is the apology you didn't need to give, or the shrinking that you weren't supposed to accept, a switch you ain't got to flip. And the truth is, we will work 80% of our entire lives, so why are you trying so hard to work against yourself? Keep your chin up, kid. You're 0% the doubts that have been planted in you, and 100% cherished. And I know you're probably late to the bus at this point for the 4th time this week, but hear me out. The Cannes Festival will change your life. And here's what I learned that I wish I knew 15 years ago. Say yes to everything, but don't overpromise. Fall in love with failing, because you'll get up a little better each time. See, trust is a currency, so don't underpay your gut. Your lived experience is valued. And someday it will be the reason you explore your own acceptance. Flourish. Flourish from the things you know hurt the most. Because today I looked around, my ashy toes buried with white sand in the south of France, and for the first time, our industry looked a whole lot like you. Thank you. My name's Darren Case.
Okay, I don't know how to follow any of that, but we're going to do it. I wanted to open up the floor to anyone who might have questions for the presenters. We have a little bit of time, so we can have a dialogue, and if nobody has any questions, then I'm going to start. But I'd prefer for someone else to. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Yes, please.
This is questions for everybody. What do you think is the string of connectivity between what you all do? I know. Take a couple of minutes to think about it. It's okay.
It's a great question. And actually, while I give you a second to think about it, as you were doing your presentations, I was trying to string something together. And I'll tell you where I landed. It's all about perspective. And I know that Lara talked about that. Well, all of you talked about it. You talked about your perspective as a generation. You talked about your perspective as a member of a community and race. You talked about your perspective as a marketer who wanted to go to the wild side, the crazy side. So for me, I took away from it perspective and the value that each of our individual perspectives has. And I think that's part of what makes WPP so great. And this entire 3 days, it's about gaining that perspective and celebrating perspective. That was my takeaway, but I'm sure others had different takeaways. Anyone? Oh.
I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think the interesting thing is that we all come from different parts of this industry, but I think the thing that we all do on a day-to-day basis and what keeps us together is that they're human stories, and we're talking to humans every single day, no matter what we're doing. We each have our own, story that we're bringing to the table. So keeping all of that in mind and leaving space for all of that to connect and listening to everyone's perspectives is the only way to, understand a generation or understand the work that you're doing. So that'd be my.
No, you stole mine. I was about to be like human experience, but it's funny thing is like why I started with like turn to your neighbor and tell them hey cousin is because we all are part of a family, even if it's not the same company or the same place physically. We all do the same in the industry, and I feel that way, not just in this environment, but places like a poetry open mic, right? When there's a lot of people that are sharing their stories and their perspectives, and you learn so much, but you're sparked by all of it. It doesn't matter if you've never lived it; you can create from that. But yeah, no, it's funny that when I said that, everybody's like, "Ooh, so awkward!" Like I gotta talk to the person next to me. But that's what I feel. And my presentation originally was going to be act like a marketer, think like a family, but I changed it last minute because it was on my heart to do a poem about my unique experience, because it's something that I know holistically the industry is shifting towards. It's shifting towards looking like the person across the table, your brand, the brand that you are. And it's great to know that the things that we love and the things that we care about, the subcultures that we're in, belong to the space that we take up in this industry. And so, yeah, that's my opinion.
So glad you changed your presentation.
And I'll just add to that. I think there's something around driving change through understanding and connecting with people to drive positive change.
Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Yeah.
Brave.
Judy, I agree. It's really amazing to hear these things. And you just said it, but all of you did it naturally. And I guess that was part of the brief, but to bring your passions. And I would suggest you do that in every aspect of your career at WPP. It will serve you well. If it doesn't feel right in your gut, my advice is then it's probably not right, or it's not right for you, which means it's not right for the situation. So these moments that you've just shared with us, I would encourage everyone else to take inspiration from it, find the things that inspire you and that give you passion, and take it into your work, because it'll be authentic and people can feel that. So I applaud those efforts. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Anyone else want to come up and do a spontaneous 4-minute Ignite talk? We can do that here.
I mean, I can, but is that like? Is that
What do we
allowed?
think? One more poem? Yeah, okay. Let's do it.
Jeez, I didn't expect this. Okay.
And you can say no. You can tell Judy no.
Oh, it's okay. You want me to stand up here?
Yes,
This
please.
mic? Okay. All right. So like 3 years ago, context, I published this work called The Sky is Full Lips. What that means to me is, I kind of, in there, I talked about being made fun of as a kid for having full lips. And then we all saw the Kylie Jenner challenge and all that stuff that happened. It's like, it's kind of ironic that the features about you, can be mainstream at, later. So like, I loved anime as a kid, got made fun for it. Now it's like, it's the biggest thing ever, right? It's everybody's like trying to get into it. But I made this group of work just to talk about race and how it intersects with my life. And this was just passion. Like I hosted open mics, I did poetry. And so this piece is like a long piece that it's been my favorite for a long time, called The Things in Our Hood That Still Pulse. And I split it up throughout the work, and I just pieced it by piece because it was my favorite thing about the community, and I wanted it to be the foundation of the book. So this is that whole culmination. Today, a tombstone tongue will not take the stage. An audience will gather, but there's no fatality to fiend upon. See, this poem won't be pried open and forced into a hungry mouth. A poet will not pluck a stranger from the pavement to dangle their bones above the pages. Let the poem starve. And leave the boy. Leave the boy because he can hold his last name. See, a black woman will not be mother of a movement. Today, she will just be mother. But how much death does it take for us to spit resurrection back into our community? I want to see my family grow, bloom, rose-like, not from the concrete, thorns buried, like to adapt ain't necessary. I want to see my family soar amongst the eagles, like the freedom America thinks they promised, high above hierarchies of the past can defeat itself. Today, y'all, we celebrate. So this poem is for the barbershop, where therapy is cheap and sessions end only when the fade is clean. Church ain't always on Sunday. Your barber finna lay down a sermon of his own. Watch as we confess our sins and then dap each other up afterwards. Coconut oil anointings, blade for this baptism. Each cut, a new Genesis. A fresh slap of rubbing alcohol on your hairline to test the grit in your grimace. Oh, how that first thing be rite of passage. Pain, merely evidence that healing will start again. This poem is for the old heads. The union of wisdom and stuttering gold teeth. How my nose drink a wave of cool water cologne before they enter a room. Clink in their glide. Anthem of too many coins and too many keys. But you don't gotta ask why. He already told you twice. If you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. Midwest drawl, so long you fit a Baptist choir between each syllable. See, on most days, an open ear and closed lips be praised enough. This poem is for the block party, where no one pulls a piece, but it always gets popping. Pop, lock, and dropping. Music for fellowship, blends of old school and young blood. The y'all don't know nothing about this harmonize with, ooh, that's my. Come on, come all, come and kick it something vicious. See, a party ain't a party till the public think we ignorant. Ain't no such thing as too much pride in our pigment. Cookout without the code switch. Grandpas turned grill masters wearing those brown Jesus-looking sandals, and the toes say amen. But you can't forget auntie, mama number 2. Been with a man for 10 years. They ain't married. She ain't pressed. She got that man on lock. And if grandma goes home, the matriarch won't. See, grandma gonna live. Nah, she gonna breathe through this potato salad and these collard greens, green beans. You see, the family stays fed on cranberry and ancestry. This poem is for the black woman. Brother, those waves on your little head don't impress her. Watch her hands be enough for 2 oceans. Ocean of our waters, black woman taught our veins how to jive. And that rhythm be the pulse and drum of this body. This poem is for the black man who still lives. And although the world may nip through the heels of his hustle, nip at the heels of his hustle, they can't replace the mark his steps will leave behind. And here he stands amongst us all, this time holding his own name.